connect the USACE building to the parking deck. That was not originally in the contractor's scope of work because it had not been designed at the time the parking deck was awarded. So we had to pull that forward from the arena design into the parking deck contract because we had to have that road in service before the arena's finished. And that, when we did that, that added approximately 600,000 to the 630,000 to the contract for that additional scope of work pulled forward from the arena. And then we also added the 486,000 for the cameras that were not part of the original scope. So then that put us at the limit of the contract. So this resolution is to add some funds for some miscellaneous changes, which include basically some additional stuff for the fire protection systems, mostly that, some sidewalk transitions, again, that were not in the original scope, to connect the parking deck sidewalks back to the Claiborne Street sidewalks. And then just some miscellaneous painting that had to be added to the scope. So that's what the $300,000 is for. And it's because basically we ran short due to pulling that road in. Had we not had that road added under previous change order, then we would be standing here asking for this because the funds we saved on the value engineering at the front end would have covered all of these costs.
Josh?
So just kind of to the way I'm hearing it, Sam, is got started on the parking deck, obviously still working through what the Civic Center looks like. This driveway, and then, there were some change orders where, this money that we value engineered, we had to use for other things, to, really to kind of work in concert with the Civic Center. There's a couple things that we made changes on or approved changes to do that. So this money would have been there, but now we're having to bring money from the Civic Center project because we worked it under the Civic Center project, but really, in theory, it was supposed to be under the Civic Center, but in practice, we put it under the parking deck. I guess, is that kind of, am I following that?
That's basically it. I mean, similar to what we did when we did the surcharge.
Yeah.
And added that to the demo contract because it needed to be done before the arena contract was let.
It was going to be done anyways. We just decided to go ahead while we got all the equipment and everything, and we had to have it, get it done now instead of just, waiting for the Civic Center kind of thing. I guess kind of like what the surcharge is.
Correct.
Thank you.
We are going to show a deductive change order to the Civic Center for that amount, right?
Well, there won't be a deductive change order because it was not included in the arena contract. It was pulled out of that design prior to bidding the job.
So it wasn't in either design package, is what you're telling me?
No, it was in the arena design package, but we noted on that design that work would be by others. So when the arena was bid, that work was not included in the bid.
But it wasn't included on the parking deck either.
Right. So that's why we had to add it to the parking deck.
I don't know where I am right now, but there were two $4 million charges, or two $2 million that came up to $4 million that I saw in the agenda packet. Also from I think it came from the TIF. What?
Oh, that's not me.
I'm right while I'm thinking arena. That's where I am. If it's a separate item, I'll wait till I get to it. Okay.
That's part of it.
Yeah, but was it part of the original budget that we laid out where that money would be coming from? Did we say that $4 million? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question on 09815. This, I guess, would be for Scott or Chief of Staff Barber. Authorize a funding order. I've never seen a authorization of a funding order on our agenda before. What is the implication or purpose of this?
Scott. Yes, sir. So the question specific is
The question specific is the purpose for the order of that. When we're under construction for the Civic Center, there are several sources of funds available to the city for that. There's approximately $2 million left in the capital account for the Civic Center. $250 million in the bond issue, $15 million available from OVG, and two runs of $4 million each from the TIF, 2025 TIF and 2026 TIF. The order of those expenditures becomes important for two reasons. First, we want to avoid at all possible any arbitrage profit issues we run into on the debt service or the arena debt proceeds. When that money comes in, we can earn interest for a certain period of time, but we also have 24 months to expend those dollars to avoid any arbitrage. Arbitrage is if you earn more money in interest than you're supposed to on there. The reason that becomes important is if you look at the order, we want to spend the $2 million in capital first, then the debt service, then OVG money. The last money would be the TIF. The reason for that is there's a $15 million contingency in the construction of that contract. We want to use our dollars last, if we can use our dollars last, the TIF dollars. So the order becomes very important that we don't spend TIF dollars first, or we don't spend OVG dollars first. We want to make sure that the order is the most effective, efficient route for us to spend those dollars now. And that's the only purpose of that.
So what's the purpose of us resolving that, putting it in resolution form so that when we have, say, a change of administration, this is now known amongst all that this is the plan, and if you want to change from that plan, then you must come back to the city council for any change?
That is correct. There are some financial implications that we want to avoid. And the purpose of this is just simply to make sure that we have a roadmap for the expenditure down of those dollars and to spend TIF dollars last in the process, if at all possible.
Okay, and the TIF dollars, they're going to be, let's say that we don't get to the point where we have to expend those TIF dollars on the actual construction itself. Those TIF dollars will then be used to repay debt service?
No, sir. They will go back to the TIF. They will be unspent. Yes, sir. None of this is debt service. It is only construction. And we just want to make sure that we use for construction our dollars last. Then they hope that we don't spend those TIF dollars and they will be remitted back to the TIF.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carroll?
What's the projected completion date of the arena?
January 27.
January 27. I guess this is probably going to be really important for the council to remember. Resolutions are non-binding, so that another administration could come in and change the order. So if you're putting up this resolution, then you guys need to extremely remember the order in which we're trying to do things here, because non-binding resolution, the next administration could change things. And then when it comes to the budget itself, we don't control that. Only the administration and the mayor controls the budget. So we're going to have to keep our eyes open and our ears peeled back, depending on how that money is spent and when it's spent. The next question is, how much money is actually in the TIF?
I apologize. I didn't bring that information with me. I can get you that balance. I can email it out to everyone.
That would be good to know.
I'll be glad to do that. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So in this order, are there contract implications?
No.
Say with OVG's contract that we have with them? I mean, does this
No, sir.
affect any contract?
There are no contract
It's
implications
just decisions
whatsoever.
we're making as a municipal body.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Going back to 814, looking back at last week and some of the questions that come up when we start doing change orders or anything related to the Civic Center, when we start talking about some of these big numbers and exactly what is going on with the construction and the spending and the budget in particular.
Certainly.
Can we just go back over maybe at our regular meeting exactly where we are with the Civic Center, construction and the status, and then go through these two items to explain to the public so that they understand we are still within budget, still on time, but just what this means?
Absolutely, yes. I'd be glad to.
Okay, you want to do it, or Chief of Staff, or Sam, or who? But if we could do that during maybe the mayor's presentation, I think that would be a good idea.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I'll get with Chief of Staff to see what that is. The 814 is really a punch list. It's a closing out a punch list, but the public obviously needs to be educated on that.
Right.
We'll be glad to do that. There's no really budgetary implication. It's a cleanup at that point. I will also describe to you that although there are $300,000 being moved on this in meetings last week, we We believe, and we went with Sam and Carlene, we believe that the total to be expended on that is going to be closer to 225,000. Any monies that aren't expended would go back to the reserve. The effort was to make sure it was covered so we wouldn't have to come back to this body, but we do anticipate the budget for this to not be 300,000, but be closer to 225. This is just an effort to make sure punch lists are covered without having to return to you.
Okay, that's fine. We get it. We just want to make sure that everybody in the public has a better understanding of exactly what we're doing and why we have change orders and how it impacts the overall budget.
Certainly.
Okay, anybody else? Thanks, appreciate it.
Yes.
09815, authorized funding order for use of funds for a new Mobile Arena remaining construction costs. 21816, authorized contract with Moffitt and Nickel for construction engineering and inspection services for the Mobile Riverfront redevelopment project, 326,000.
Have we not, sorry, have we
Uh,
not bid this job
William,
already?
Mr. Carroll?
Have we not bid this job already?
This is the top side park work.
I couldn't hear you.
This is the topside park work that accompanies the bulkhead. So we've let the bulkhead's substantially complete. This is to support the topside park work that's to be let fairly short order. And the south coffer cell.
Okay. How much longer are we going to be under construction out there?
Probably around just after the first of the year.
That's what y'all told me 2 years ago.
Yeah, lots of unknowns under the water. If we would have known what was under the water, we would have had a lot longer date out there. I mean, we're dealing with two or three cycles of old bulkheads.
That's the same thing they told us when they were building Gulf Quest.
I was going to say that sounds familiar.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah. All right, anybody else? Okay,
6817, authorized settlement agreement and release of claims. 01819, authorized amendment number 2 to professional program management services agreement with Volker, $33,750. 01820, authorized the foreign trade zone operator agreement for operator services with Merchants Transfer Company. Call for public hearings, 41818, call for public hearing to consider rezoning property located at 720 Museum Drive from R1 to B2, scheduled July 15th.
Okay.
Announcements.
anything from council? Mr. Woods?
Ms. Vice President, I want to actually go back, and I was going to see if Jen would mind coming up and kind of talking about this. Had obviously the opportunity to stop by and visit on Saturday with you and look at the over of Langen Lake, the overscoping of
okay.
everything. And then 09812, after taking that field trip that Councilman Reynolds took us across the bay for, I came back very impressed. And then I was very excited to see that, in conjunction with the Langen Park, kind of what you got going on over there as far as that low impact stormwater. I didn't know if Jim might take just a minute to kind of explain to us, because this is a very cool concept, and I think that it can be used throughout the city, just like we saw over in Baldwin County. And, kind of in the back of my mind, I look at Milk House Creek as a possible candidate for this type of work. And would you just take a minute, kind of share, because I kind of nerded out over it a little bit once I saw it. So.
Thank you for coming to the event. I appreciate you looking at my boards. Yes, part of that project has a low impact design to it. We're renovating an old, not very well functioning drainage feature that's a concrete ditch and creating more of a natural stream. It involves, placing rocks and vegetation, native species, of course, trees to create a natural stream. The goal is to trap sediment before it gets to the lake. There's a variety of inputs to sediment to the lake. We've been looking at all of them. We're going to continue to tackle them like we did 12 Mile and we do with this. The city released a low impact design manual last year, which has been really well received. That's actually what we're doing a demonstration project for. So it's kind of really neat little thing, lots of education components. And we do have a grant from the state, from ADEM, to implement that part of the project in addition to some city funds.
Kind of like right now, I guess, and Councilman Reynolds' field trip where we didn't see any snakes, thankfully. But kind of the change that we're working towards specifically with this is instead of this concrete ditch where sediment just continues to flow, there's nothing stopping the sediment outside of just drying up and the sediment's left there, but that doesn't do nothing because it's going to keep washing the next rain we got. This is kind of more like an S-shaped
Sure.
stream. Then you have different areas with rock and everything where it catches the sediment, and it's more efficient to go and clean the sediment out where the rocks are versus having to dredge an entire lake, I guess.
That's correct. You've got to look at the area. Like 12 Mile Creek is a good example of where we could not do low impact design from East Drive down. It had to be gray infrastructure because there's no space. You do need space to do it. We've got that in Langen Park. The places that you visited, which are really great examples as well, also have space. So it's all about design. Sometimes you have to use gray infrastructure, but sometimes a green infrastructure approach is really appropriate, and it's a good use. And then there's a lot of places I think that could be used, especially in Langen Park.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right. Anybody else?
I
Mr.
just wanted to
Daves?
go back over the
Okay.
ones we might take up today. Would be 08805, 08806. We talked about 08809 and 01819, all under $50,000.
Okay. All right, you'll just call all those out. All right.
Okay.
And let's see, this afternoon we have, don't we have the museum this afternoon?
Yep.
Yeah, coming today, says at 12. Are they coming at noon? Oh, okay. They're coming at noon. So come on up after the council meeting so we can get together with them. And just to follow up on Jen's information that she just shared, I want to thank everybody for the volunteers and all of the different organizations that came out for our paddle in the park on Saturday. We had a really terrific turnout. A lot of great information was there as well. So thank you, Jen, and everyone who participated in that and putting your boards out and providing that kind of information to people as well so that they know what dredging is all about. It's not just to make the lake pretty. It has a lot of other things involved that will help things flow, which is what we need out there is flowing water and not all that sediment washing down from further west. So thank you. It was really great. Enjoy doing it. I actually got out on the water as well, doing a kayaks, and we just look forward to the dredging actually starting, getting done, and moving on. Anybody else? Any other announcements? All right, great. We'll see you all at 10:30.